All right, so the United States is a collection of 50 states with different voting systems, but they all come together to elect the country's president through an electoral college. This next report explains the entire electoral exercise in the US.
November 5, 2024 marks the 60th quadrennial presidential election. Americans head to the polls in November to elect the next US president. The presidential elections are held every 4 years. The winner serves a term of 4 years in the White House starting in January of 2025. In the United States, there are two main parties. Democrats, they are generally considered liberal and typically support a larger government role in economic policies, backing regulations and social welfare programs. Republicans, they are seen as conservative and typically want a smaller government that is less involved in the economy. Now let's understand, how does the US presidential election work? In the United States, the winner is not the person who gets the most votes across the country. Both candidates compete to win contests held across 50 states. Each state has a certain number of electoral college votes based on population. Out of 538, the candidate that wins 270 or more is the winner. Most states lean heavily towards one party or the other, so the focus is usually on a dozen or so states where either of them could win. These are known as the battleground or swing states. It is possible for a candidate to win the most votes nationally, like Hillary Clinton did in 2016, but still be defeated by the Electoral College. Several party members may vie for the US presidency. Primaries and caucuses narrow down party contenders. Candidates from each political party campaign nationwide to win their party members' support. Starting in February, primaries and caucuses select delegates to represent the people at the conventions. In a caucus, party members select the best candidate through a series of discussions and votes. In a primary, party members vote for the best candidate that will represent them in the general election. What are presidential primaries? Most states hold primaries 6 to 9 months before a presidential election. Primary voters choose their preferred candidate anonymously by casting secret ballots. The state where the primary is held takes the results of the vote into account to award delegates to the winners. What are caucuses? Several states hold caucuses in the months leading up to a presidential election. Caucuses are meetings run by political parties that are held at the county, district, or precinct level. Some caucuses choose candidates by secret ballot. Others require participants to divide themselves into groups. Each candidate's group gives speeches and tries to get others to join their group. In the end, the number of delegates given to each candidate is based on the number of caucus votes they receive. Next step is national conventions. Each party holds a national convention to select a final presidential nominee. State delegates endorse their favorite candidates, with each party's presidential nominee officially announced at the end of the conventions. Presidential candidate also chooses a running mate or vice presidential candidate. Presidential candidates campaign throughout the country to win the support of the general population. The most important moment in the entire process is the general election. On November 5, Americans in every state across the United States vote for one president and vice president. When people cast their vote, they are actually voting for a group of people called electors. The candidate with the majority of votes in the state wins all the electoral votes. The presidential nominee with the most electoral votes becomes the President of the United States. The final step is the Electoral College. In the Electoral College system, each state gets a certain number based on its representation in Congress. There are a total of 538 electors selected according to each state's policy. Each elector casts one vote. Following the general election, and the candidate who gets more than half, that's 270, wins. The newly elected president and vice president are inaugurated in January. In this election, let's see who all are there in the race for the White House. Donald Trump won the Republican Party's support with a massive lead over rivals. Trump chose Ohio Senator J.D. Vance to be his vice presidential running mate. For the Democrats, Vice President Kamala Harris joined the race after President Joe Biden dropped out. Her running mate is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. All eyes are now on the US and their next president. Mihir Makuri's report for DD India.